Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Nick Flanagan Weekly. I am Nick Flanagan. This is my 4 times a week show. The word weekly is actually with an E and a K, and then a K, and then an L and a Y. It means I am presenting it to you weekly. But every week I grow stronger. How are you doing? It's the end of the weekend. You'll probably be hearing this on a Monday if you listen to this regularly, which I pray you do. I pray and pray you do. What a sad thing to pray for that would be. I really want people to listen to my podcast. Please, podcast listeners. Oh, I mean, that is what I pray for, so I shouldn't make fun of it. My name is Nick, comedian. I've written some things, been in some things. You might recognize me from the Schticky commercial a few years ago that the ShamWow guy made. Vince Offer. He was fairly kind to me. Definitely kinder to me and has given me more opportunities than many comedians. Friends of mine. But I'm not bitter. I'm just telling the truth. I'm a truth teller. I speak truth to power. I'm going to give you the long short of my story as it is up to now. I sing in punk bands. I've toured through Europe. Been in America. Lots of different cities. From Toronto, Ontario. I always wanted to be part of the U.S. comedy circuit, try to see what I could do there. I went there in 2016, shortly after a family tragedy that I will mention some other time. And it was great, but I was not ready. And I could not deal as well. And my visa expired, and I came back in 2018, a somewhat broken boy. Far from a man. So now I'm back at my mom and dad's house. My dad is not here due to death, but my mother is, and she is just having a great time. And I am trying to get a handle on my mental health, trying to get a handle on the disorder attention deficit hyperactive disorder. I get the name wrong a lot of the time. Trying to figure all that out, doing some comedy, doing this podcast, living my life, kissing the mirror when I look at it, because you gotta love yourself. And I'm enjoying my life. And getting texted, apparently. Even though I was sure I put this darn thing on Do Not Disturb. Maybe I put it on Do Not Disturbed, which just means it will not play any music by the band Disturbed. So yeah, if you have been enjoying this podcast, if you are enjoying this podcast, the main thing I would ask is tell a friend. The second thing is I will sing to you over this melancholy meditative music. Oh, hello and welcome to the show. My name is Nick and I've got to go. I like to talk, but I like to sing. People always ask me, what's wrong with your voice? So, I was just going to say, you can support the podcast by telling a friend, just telling more people to listen to it. I'm still amazed that there is an audience. I really appreciate it. We're almost at 10,000 listens. To me, that's a real victory. And the other thing you can do is you can go to patreon.com. I'm going to start again. The other thing you can do is go to patreon.podbean.com/Nickflanaganweakly. And if you want to pledge a monthly thing, that will go towards me buying stuff for the podcast to sound better, me paying people who film and edit it, me buying a sandwich, if that's okay with you. And yeah, that kind of stuff. If anybody has suggestions about things they would like to see in a tiered reward system, or even some kind of breakdown of what I want, I'm interested. I've never done a patron kind of thing, and I've put about 23 years into doing this kind of thing. Entertainment, blah, blah, blah. So, anyway, that would be appreciated, but it is not necessary. I feel like this is quite a long intro, but that's fine. I came back from a family event today. We had a 50th birthday party for my cousin on the Jewish side of my family. The last name Flanagan often makes people go, the one thing this guy can't be is Jewish. But they're wrong. I can be very Jewish because of my mother, who is Jewish. And that side of the family is a very traditionally Jewish family. You know, lots of grandkids, lots of pickles, many complaints, losses in the Holocaust, just classic Jewish stuff. And my gosh, golly, darn it, there were so many of my family members at this thing today. So many people I hadn't seen in long arse times. And boy, was that nice. You know, I hate to tell you, youngsters who are listening to this, but if you hate your family, and that can include your surrogate family, whether it's friends or guardians, teachers, mentors, people in your life, whoever you consider a family, hold them close. In the end, those are the ones who are going to pull that veil over your face when your eyes close. Welcome to the cheeriest Monday podcast of all damn time. I'm just saying, don't be afraid to be into your family as long as they're not jerks. And if they're jerks, get out of there. You don't need to listen. And if they're nice, count your blessings. And the blessings don't need to be necessarily related to a higher power. You just think of them as lucky things that you get to have. Speaking of which, I finally got a check, so I'm getting a massage. Do you have anywhere to recommend in Toronto for massage? Email weaklypodcast@gmail.com. That's weaklypodcast, WEAKLY, @gmail.com. Can't wait for them to punch my neck until it feels better. Yeah, we went to this, one of these mega outdoor malls. We went to some bar called Taylor's Landing. There was cake. I toasted my cousin, Richard. My aunt talked. My mom talked. Oh, children were there. People who were children but are now grown up are there. Isn't that powerful? Oh boy, what a powerful feeling. Once you meet a child, years later an adult. Same person. Magic. What are you, David Copperfield, kid? How'd you do that? Last time I saw you, you couldn't walk. Now you got a beard. Last time I saw you pooping your pants. Now you got a James Beard Award for food. And the last time I saw you was yesterday. James Beard Award. I believe that's for food. I bought a big whiteboard today. Want to hear about it? I'm going to tell you. Went to Staples. Bought a whiteboard. A very nice person told me that maybe it's too big. Don't. It's not a double entendre. So, I've got this giant whiteboard. I'm going to structure my day. Do you have anything to recommend? How do you structure your day if you have no specific structure to your day? So I've got meditate, journal, eat, contemplate, pace, doctor photos, so it looks like I'm in them. Like me, but I'm on the moon. They just call it photoshopping now, but I'm from an era where we called it doctoring. That's my first half of the day. I love to end a day cycle, go from AM to PM with some photo doctoring. That's just what I like doing. Call me crazy. Don't call me crazy. I'm very sensitive. If you call me crazy, I will stay in bed for days. Yeah, so I'm excited for this whiteboard. I'm going to write a schedule. I'm going to get there. Some days, I'm telling you, this ADHD thing, what gets me, and if you know anybody who has that, you must understand, even if you're a person who doesn't have this, we're all, we have like an exaggerated version of this. Sometimes it's exaggerated, but it just feels like you do all this work on yourself, you try to get in a groove, and suddenly you're completely back at square one. That was how I was feeling for a lot of last week. And that had to do with a few things. The most important thing is to step back and go, why was I feeling bad? A lot of the time it's grief that is hard to admit to yourself. But in this case, I was on this deadline. I really wanted to do well with this writing deadline, give good work. I mean, that was worrying me. And then another one was the episode I did with Emily Mover. I'm having these musical episodes where I have guests. I love them so much. I'm continuing to ask guests. I'm going to really try to bank a ton of guests, have fun people on, really present a good front. And I just wasn't sure if the sound was good. So it was taking me forever to edit it. And I was like, it was just frustrating. On top of that, I just felt like all of the same problems were coming back. I was like wondering why. I made too many plans. Why would I double book things? What was I thinking? Why did I have one day last week where I was so depressed? And I just said, man, is this any different than me 10 years ago, even though I'm taking all of these steps to fix it? And it didn't feel that way at first. But objectively, if I'm able to look at it objectively, it is different. I can express myself much better. I'm actively aware of how judgmental I am of certain people, and I'm going to get to being judgmental about someone in a second. And overall, I feel very well. I'm going to switch into a meditative voice as we're listening to royalty-free meditative music, and I'd just like you to slip into an unconscious feeling. Feel from the tips of your toenails to the tippy-top, tip-top tip of the cowlick atop your head. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. Get down with the funk. Get up. Stand up. Stand up for your rights. Get up. Stand up. Don't forget to fight. Because we're jamming. I hope you like jamming too. I think I'm going to finish off my episode of today with a story about Canada, my birth country. Toronto, my birth my birth city. Ontario, my birth province. We call them provinces here. It's going to really help when China takes over. They'll go, hey, we got provinces too. Here's a $10 billion, Nick. That's all it takes to win over China. We got this guy, Doug Ford, in there. He's the premier of Ontario, and everyone knew it was going to be bad if he won. And I don't know what your political opinions are, but I'll say if you're someone who has deep criticism of trans people in terms of wanting them around, being scared of them, wondering thinking they shouldn't belong somewhere, that their gender identity is not recognizable, you can email me, we can have a chat. My take on it is that it is a human rights, a civil right issue. And I don't want to, it just, don't talk to me about two sexes. We can talk about gender if you want. Gender roles. But right now, Rob Ford's brother, Doug, the Premier of Ontario, is turning back time. He's trying to turn back time. And Toronto and Ontario have been places where a lot of forward-thinking things have happened. And because of that, it's viewed as some sort of politically correct SJW nest. I'm sure Vancouver is viewed the same way. People who are self-righteous about things. That's not what I'm trying to say when I say this thing about trans rights. To me, it's just how I feel. It's just how I feel. That's it. And it's also a fact, for those who prefer facts over feelings, that these are people who feel that they are this way and want to identify this way, and there is no pain to other people caused by that. So let them be that way. And Doug Ford's PC party is now going to open the debate of no longer recognizing gender diversity, which would mean, and probably the quickest thing that'll happen, is it will be erased from school curriculum, which will mean that a generation of people, young people, will just continue to view that as such a strange thing, a fringe thing, something that could make it harder for people who are living that way, who identify that way. So why do it? And to Jordan Peterson, I hope your grandstanding has made you happy, because this issue and the fact that there's probably going to be some pushback is on you. So I hope this is what you wanted. And if not, what the hell are you doing? And if it is what you wanted, why on earth are you doing this? Was grandstanding and pride worth the pain of others? You tell me. JPB. There we go. Kind of an angry end to this. Look, I'm a comedian, but I'm also a thinker. I speak truth to power. I speak truth to the electric company. That's just how I feel. So, the PC government passed something. They're going to explore the idea of gender identity not being, quote-unquote, a thing and being unscientific. And don't think for a minute this isn't coming from people who eventually want to erode gay rights. Don't. Just know that that's what's happening. And if you're fine with that, you're fine with that. And if you're not, I don't know, send a letter to the editor. I don't know what's supposed to happen here. But I'm just saying, if you're listening and if you're in another city, look up Doug Ford, look up this stuff, raise your voice, shame our province. I want you to. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm on Instagram. I'm actually not. I'm taking major breaks from Instagram, but they're still happening. Nick Flanagan, Nickflanaganweakly, Nickflanaganweakly, Nickflanaganweakly on Twitter. All that stupid stuff. Thank you for listening. We're going to have guests this week. The Emily Mover episode last week was a blast. Please listen to it. She has such a beautiful voice. We're old friends, so we have a nice, loose conversation. Not everything is heavy stuff. I mostly like ranting about this stuff. I have no idea what change I'm affecting at all. Nothing. But it's fun to get off my chest. And these things do matter to me. As my family also does. So welcome to this week, if you're listening this week. And if you're listening next week, welcome to next week. Yeah. And again, tell a friend about the podcast, blah, blah, blah. Patreon.podbean/Nickflanaganweakly. Check that out if you'd like. All right. You're great. I'm great. We're great. Let's have a great time.